Hello everyone and welcome back to Strike Zone with St. Paul Saints Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the St. Paul skipper questions about the Saints, baseball or sports in general, or just seek George's wisdom about life events that are going on. In this week's episode, George talks to us about the successful run that Anthony Phillips had in the World Baseball Classic preliminary rounds. He shares with us some baseball insights that are going on, and would George really celebrate an anniversary at Chick Filet? Let's find out as we head to Strike Zone. So let's welcome back Manager George Tsamis. George, let's first of all begin with team updates from you.
For this week, we don't have anything to announce, no player signings to announce, but it has been a busier week. There are definitely more guys in the picture this past week. I think that, several guys are realizing they're not getting into spring training, and it's something I've mentioned over the last couple of weeks. But this past week, there have been a lot of guys coming into the picture. But I think they're into the picture for a lot of teams, and we have offers out to 5-6 guys, and you don't know if you're going to get any of them or if you're going to get all of them. So it's just playing the waiting game just to see what they're going to do.
Is this the time of the year that minor league spring training camp begins then, or have they already began?
Yeah, I know Vinny DeFazio, he's already down there, so I know he's started, and I know some teams have started, maybe the pitchers and catchers a few days earlier, but yes, minor league camp is starting right around this time, so it's a busy time, and then it'll really pick up for us, probably the third week of March when those releases start from the organizations. So it'll be this will be a busy month.
One of the things we wanted to talk about was the World Baseball Classic preliminary rounds are going on. You have two players from last year's team that are performing that. Anthony Phillips playing for South Africa, having a huge series down there in Australia, I understand.
Yeah, he did a good job, and I get to see a little bit of it. The games were on late at night here, early in the morning, and got to see some of it. And he had a good series, and he was playing second base, and but he made some nice plays at second, and obviously we know how good of a shortstop he is. So it was good for him that he had that good series, and hopefully he can go into spring training and have a good camp there and make the AA team.
The other thing we wanted to mention before getting into fan questions, Scott Miller, the play-by-play guy for the Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks, passed away from cancer after battling for the 4 months. So we just want to kind of send out a message to fans of Scott's and to his family about our condolences about his loss.
Yeah, I saw that the other day, and it was a terrible time, and it's I never met him personally, but I've listened to him many times and listened to the games, and I thought he did a great job, and it really is a tough time, and I reached out to Doug and Josh Buchholz and told them how sorry I was, and it's just a terrible thing.
Well, let us get into our fan questions for this week. Our first one comes from Owen from Minneapolis, who asked, George, I saw that Drew Gay was released by Kansas City, but has been a dependable pitcher for you in the past. Would he be a guy you might reach out to?
Yeah, we haven't talked to him yet, and we'll just see what happens here with what happens in spring training. We're kind of waiting just to see what happens with the releases in this month in March, and but as of right now, we have not reached out yet to Drew.
Our next question comes from Stan from Chaska, who says, George, what do you think of those new helmet hats they built to try to protect pitchers? Do you see these as catching on?
I saw a couple pictures of them, and obviously they're weird looking, but you know what? I think the important thing is if they're comfortable and if it doesn't, change a guy's mechanics or, mess with his motion, if they're comfortable, I'm all for it. If it's safe and it would prevent injuries, and like I told you before, I'm surprised that those line drives back at the pitchers. I'm surprised those don't happen more often.
When you were pitching, was that ever a concern for you at a point, or you just can't go up there with that kind of mentality?
You can't think about it, but I've definitely got hit by line drives before. And I remember there's a line drive right back off my elbow one time, and another time line drives off my leg, and it's hard to. It comes back so fast, and you barely can even see it. And there's times you make the plays, but when they come back so hard, and just tough to, you don't have time to react, and it's just you just got to hope you don't get smoked by it, and but you can't go up there thinking it when you're pitching. That's something I never really did. You didn't really think about it, but there were some line drives that whizzed by, and but again, I remember I got smoked right in the elbow one time, and that wasn't a fun time because it was tough and right in the elbow. So, but fortunately, I got to make my next start, so it wasn't so bad.
60 feet 6 inches is a lot closer than you would think, I bet.
Yeah, but you're closer than that after you follow through and stuff. You're even closer than 60 feet 6 inches because obviously the rubber's 60 feet away, but when you're after your follow through, you're a lot closer than that.
Wow. Steve from St. Paul would like to know, who do you think is the most clutch player you ever managed?
There have been several real good players and clutch hitters, and you know what? After last year, the year we had, 74 wins, and I would have to say after the year they had, both Vinny DeFazio and Angelo Sanko were so clutch last year, and they came up with big hit after big hit, and again, they're a big part of the best season we've ever had. So we're going to say both of them, and we were impressed by many of the hitters over the years. Though we had a guy named Brian Burkamy for like a couple of weeks a few years ago at the end of the season, and that was a guy that was just an impressive hitter, and balls jumped off his bat, pretty good. But there's just been a lot of really, really good hitters, over the years for us, and Vinny and Sanko were excellent last year.
Dave from Northfield would like to know from you, what was the most exciting part about spring training for you personally?
First, getting there. I mean, you just can't wait to get there because, especially when bad weather, you can't wait to get out of the bad weather and get there, and you're excited to get started because, how many times have I told you that the off season's way too long, and you just can't wait to get down there. But then once you're down there doing it every day and every morning, and then it gets a little old, and then you can't wait for opening day. So then you end up, you can't wait to get out of there. But just getting there and, being back out on the field again it's great. But once opening day comes around, that's the best.
Is it kind of nerve-wracking when you're getting close to those first spring training games, kind of when you're going to get in, and are you given an idea of when they're going to start using you?
No, not really. You just go there and you just get your work done, and whenever they tell you you're going to pitch, you're prepared for it. And as a starter, you kind of have an idea. They let you know a few days before, what the plan is. But as a reliever, at times you don't know. You just got to be ready to go, and when they call your name, you got to be ready.
Our next question comes from Ben from Circle Pines, who wonders, I heard you say that new Wingnuts manager Pete Rose Jr. is a really intense guy. More intense than Pete in Cavilla?
Yeah, I've never met Pete, and like I said, it's just what I had heard, and I heard he's a real good guy, and you know what? It's good to have the guys that are business too. You like the business guys are there just to play baseball and go about their business the right way, and so if he's intense, that's okay, as long as you do things the right way.
Joe from Woodbury asks of you, do you think the moves the Red Sox have made make them the team to beat in the AL East this season?
That's a tough one because the Blue Jays were excellent, and the Blue Jays, Yankees, Red Sox. I've told you many times, it's just nothing surprises me anymore what happened. So if any of those three teams won, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And I know the Red Sox have Price, but and their lineup's real good, but I think it's pretty important to have 5 good starters. So I guess whoever has the best starting pitching, because their lineups, all 3 of them are pretty good, especially the Blue Jays.
Our next question comes from Mike from Duluth, who I'm sure you're going to say you hope the answer to this is no. But he says, do you see the Tigers rebounding this year after having such a down season last year?
It wouldn't surprise me with that either. And like I know their lineup got better, and I think they're kind of in the same boat as the Red Sox. Yeah, the lineup looks good and a couple good starters, but they have to go out there and get it done. And that division's getting better too. So, I even saw the other day that somebody picked Cleveland to win it too, and and the White Sox got better, and the Twins are going to be better, and we know how good the Royals are. So that's a tough division, and whoever stays healthy and maybe pitches the best, can win that division.
I really think it's amazing that Paul Molitor has established himself as a top-notch manager in that division already.
Absolutely, yeah. He did a real good job, and and I guess he was right up there too. And he had a chance to win Manager of the Year, and if he would have won, I don't think anybody would have been disappointed or surprised because he did a real good job with them.
Absolutely. Craig from Lakeville would like to ask of you: do you see Bryce Harper having an even bigger season this year?
It wouldn't surprise me. Him and Mike Trout, the two best players in the world. If they did, it'd be like, it wouldn't surprise me, and it's a normal thing for them. If they hit 40 home runs or steal 20 bases, it wouldn't surprise me.
Trent from Minneapolis wonders from you: one thing I find interesting about baseball is that when closers seem to lose it, their careers end quickly, but other players that doesn't seem to happen in that way. Does it seem that way to you as well?
That's an interesting question, but closer, starter, when you lose it, it just happens, and it can happen to anybody, and you can go out there and you're throwing 95 miles per hour one day and one of the top pitchers in the league, and you lose that fastball, and it can happen so fast. So, I think closers, starters, it doesn't matter. It can happen to anybody. So you got to be prepared every year and work hard every year, and hopefully it doesn't happen to you.
One of the things that when I was first reading this question, I'd be interested to hear your input on this, is that for a starter, you're pretty much set in kind of who you're going to wind up facing and what the situations are going to wind up being. But I would think as a closer, I could be a really top closer one year because I came in when my team was always winning by 3 runs. And the next season I could be in a whole bunch of nail biters and not have a great year, and everybody could say, well, wow, he's lost it. Is that kind of maybe what happens sometimes to these guys?
Yeah, but I think it can happen to anybody too. And it's just like, as an example, like Justin Verlander, obviously he was one of the top guys in the league all those years, and that 95 mile per hour fastball, and then I believe it was last year where his velocity was down and he wasn't as effective. So, it can happen to anybody.
Brad, looking for a little rehab advice from you, says, George, do you have some good tips to help for fighting tendonitis in my elbow? I went to play softball this season, but the last couple of years it has hurt a lot as the season went on, and I want to find a way to strengthen it and make it so it does not hurt.
First, I would say go see a doctor and see what he or she has to say. That would probably be the best advice. And then if that doesn't happen, one thing when I pitch at times, when my elbow was a little sore, you did the little exercises with, with the little 3-pound weight with the weight and just tried to strengthen it. But, the times when you say ice it and stuff, and I've always found it more effective. Instead of putting a bag of ice on your elbow, you get a bucket, fill it with ice, put the cold water in it, and then dip it in there and see how you like that. And it wasn't pleasant, but it always seemed, to me, it seemed to be more effective doing it that way. So go get a bucket, ice in it, dip it in there for 15 minutes, and the first 3 minutes are torture.
Well, there's some good advice for you, Brad.
Well, yeah, go ahead and try that with your elbow. I'll go try that with your foot. It's not good.
Hey, if it works, that's the important part. That's what happens.
Yeah, it'll work, but it's just not very pleasant. But to me, it's the most effective way to do it.
Excellent suggestion. Sue from Minnetrista asks of you, George, I know you're a big fan of the Patriots head coach. Who do you think is that kind of manager in baseball that is comparable to the same brilliance as him?
Well, you know what? You hope it's Paul Molitor here. Hopefully he can, like I said, he had a great year, and hopefully he, for the next decade, can do some things with the Twins. And, I guess Joe Madden is a guy that people always seem to talk about, and he seems to do things a little different, and he seems to really get the best out of his players. And, I would think him. He's a guy that, he's an interesting guy, and obviously knows what he's doing, and he seems to be very effective in the way he does things.
Yeah, as a manager, I'm interested from this standpoint from you, is that I never see, Joe Madden's a great example to me too, is that You never hear craziness around the New England Patriots. You don't hear guys getting themselves into trouble or guys talking out of turn or saying crazy things to reporters. Is that kind of a key to really building a good team, is to have an organization where guys understand there's a philosophy where we're all in this together?
Yeah, I mean, in New England, they've been very successful for a long time, and he makes it clear that he's in charge and it's his way. And when you're winning as much as he has, his way works, and I like it too. It's you want players to do things the right way. So you hopefully that can stick, and you hope that a lot of teams work out that way for a lot of teams.
Heading to football, Hal from Minneapolis would like to ask, what do you think is the greatest need the Vikings need to address this offseason?
I'd probably be the wrong guy to ask that because definitely don't have the answers to that. But we know they don't need a coach because they have a great head coach, a real good quarterback that's going to be good for a long time, a real nasty defense, great running back. Maybe another receiver. That would help. But they're definitely headed in the right direction.
Vince from Richfield asks, now that Tom Brady added 2 more years to his contract, would it be smart for them to trade Jimmy Garoppolo?
I guess it depends. It depends what they got for him. That's one thing that just people never know, but the behind the scenes thing, what's going on. And obviously, I think it's pretty important to have a good backup because we saw, especially this past year, a lot of teams, their quarterbacks went down, and it was tough for them. I think it's important to have a good backup, but I guess it just depends. If you get something else that can really help your team and strengthen another position, then go for it. But I think you better get something good for it.
Paul from Mendota Heights looking for a little relationship help from you. Says, George, I went to take my new girlfriend out to a place really special for our 1-year anniversary. She loves steaks. What restaurant do you recommend I take her to that is a favorite of yours?
Well, congratulations on the anniversary, and I guess it'd probably be wrong for me to say Chick Filet because that is my favorite, but that's probably not appropriate for this occasion. And Chick Filet is something else, but I'm a big fan of the steaks too, and I enjoy going to Outback Steakhouse on some of our off days. That's something that I do a lot, but I'm sure you can pick a steakhouse around there somewhere, and I'm sure you make the right choice. But again, Chick Filet is probably inappropriate for this, but that is my favorite thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to go over well with Paul's girlfriend there. So.
You never know, though. She may like it. You never know. But maybe the next day take a Chick-fil-A then. But go find a nice steakhouse and do that. And I will be going down to Florida this week. I'm going to go down there and maybe see my mom and and see my daughter pitch down there and go look at some players as well. And they have plenty of Chick-fil-A's down there, so I'll get my chance to go down there and and have a few days of Chick-fil-A for myself.
That's awesome. Our last question is from Gwen from St. Louis Park, who says, George, they say that Leap Year Day is a great day to take a leap and do something you wouldn't normally do or would like to try for the first time. Do you have a big Leap Day plan?
I have no plans. I have no plans to do anything. The one thing that I guess wouldn't normally do or would like to try for the first time, but I don't know if I could pull it off. One thing I'm amazed with is when they go in those shark cages and see those great white sharks. To me, that would be an outstanding thing to do, but I just don't know if I can pull that off. And I'm afraid right when I got in, couldn't handle it and have to come out. But to me, that is something that would be a great thing to watch.
Do they have things like that down in Florida?
I'm sure they do, but I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know if I can. It's a gutsy thing to do, and that's something that. Wow, it's. When Shark Week comes on the Discovery Channel, every year, that's something we'll always watch, and I make the guys watch it on the bus. That's something, that we so enjoy watching. But when they're in those shark cages and down there with those sharks, it's a beautiful thing, and I guess one day it would be nice to try it, but not sure if I can pull that one off, though.
So one day, but not likely this time to Florida.
Yeah, no, definitely not this time in Florida, but that's something that to me, that's just a fascinating thing to me to see that. that is something. Maybe you should try it first and let me know how it goes, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, I'll look into that. Well, thanks for joining us this week, George. We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the St. Paul Saints skipper, please send them to us at AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's AskGeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record the show on Monday. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll look for you next time on Strike Zone.